So 6 years ago, I remember writing my suicide letter. I remember writing in it how no one liked me when I was sober. I'd become so dependent that I didn't even go out with anyone or even to work without taking a dose of amphetamines and a shot of alcohol. The truth was, I started out self-medicating. I struggled to focus at school, and I was called a gorm and laughed at a lot. I was a daydreamer, so my confidence and focus was low. And then one day my cousin convinced me to try some speed. I was hooked. I originally was against drugs, but I had changed my perspective on cannabis. So I'd already started having that regular for a while. However, that didn't really help me. It just made me more distant and paranoid. So I didn't smoke that as much after a while. The years following from that, I embraced speed, MDMA, ketamine, LSD, DMT, cocaine, and plenty of alcohol. Being at college, being a bartender, and being in a family that were quite alcohol heavy helped. I just had to hide the drug use. Speed, however, became a medication. I self-diagnosed myself with ADD and started taking speed in smaller doses on a daily basis. However, some days I'd have a few more, and especially if I was out drinking, then I'd black out and not remember a thing of what had happened. My old friend James told me that I was on the streets with my eyes rolling back and telling a random person to move out of the way because I was on a come down and angry. Um, after a while of taking that, I started getting panic attacks. I started getting suicidal and I started getting mood swings. As I was into climbing roofs, as you may guess, that wasn't a good combo. There were just so many times I just ended up standing on a rooftop, debating jumping, shouting at the top of my lungs, just going crazy. And I was already, I always concluded in the end that it wouldn't be fair on my family, and I questioned the afterlife. So I got down and faced some more suffering. I'm so glad I did. Um, just before my 18th birthday, I went on a drinking holiday with my family. I went I went away from the amphetamines for the sake of travel. However, I was completely unaware of what I was going to experience. So around 2 days into the Benadryl madness, I started getting really paranoid. I kept getting sudden twitches. The day after, I started getting manic, like I was running around like a madman. And my mum had to drag me back to the apartment. Um, I remember I had complete insomnia, so I was sleeping around 2 hours a night, completely restless. I was seeing visions on the walls. I thought I was watching a live CCTV feed of my mum. They're crying that I've gone crazy. Um, I was non-stop hearing voices, not knowing what was real. I thought there were cameras implanted in the corners of the room, and I had a full-blown imaginary argument with my stepdad. I thought he was just outside the door and watching me on the so-called cameras. After I was having vivid dreams, waking up in fits, and almost felt like I was having some sort of seizures. After the intense, horrible holiday, um, it all calmed down, but I was suffering for the next 3 months immensely still. After after all that, that didn't stop me using drugs and drinking. What I learned was that moving away from pain wasn't enough for me. I needed to experience more and have a new vision for my life. At around 19, after having what I believe to be some spiritual experiences on DMT and acid, um, I started getting curious about spirituality. And a friend told me about a Buddhist plant-based diet. I came across the same recommendation on a video on YouTube on how to raise my vibration. I then came across a drum and bass MC called Mr. Traumatic, some very nasty stuff in his lyrics. However, I started listening because I was liking the stuff he was talking on spirituality and mindset. Um, he was also recommending a plant-based diet. So I gave it a go, and this is where the chain reaction happened. I never used to eat vegetables. I ate junk food. I ate a junk food diet. I didn't hydrate very well. Suddenly, I had to start from square one, and I learned how to fill myself up on a plant-based diet. So that forced me to focus on my nutrition. Now, a few weeks in, I started feeling very different. I felt calmer. I felt a sense of well-being within. I started getting outside in nature, watching the sunrise, meditating and doing affirmations. I had my final night out drinking after being hungover and thinking, I don't want to live on this crappy vibration anymore. Besides, I wanted to start spending money on good food. Like, I wanted to spend my money on lots of good food, filling me up, plenty of calories. I started the gym, and I was investing in like self-help stuff that I found online. I was getting into activism for plant-based eating, which gradually transformed into personal training, coaching people to transform their habits, their health, and their life. I made a commitment, um, and I spent more time alone. So I made the commitment, I spent more time alone. I told people that I don't drink anymore. They didn't believe me, but I was going to stick to it. After that, I became a father, a personal trainer, and inspiring life coach. Now I have purpose in my life. Now I can see the cycle I was trapped in, feeling shit inside and doing all I knew in the moment to feel better, which only made me feel worse and worse. Now I see the trap that the world's in, stuck in their emotions, habits, and relationships. See, the thing is, they don't teach you this stuff at school. And the thing is, the world doesn't owe anything to you. If you want to change, if you want to experience a better life, you need to realize that you owe it to yourself to start looking after you, to start thinking about your future, to start saying no to the things that you no longer want in your life, and to start saying yes to your new life.